to the republic for which it stands.
One nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And I am back. It is Sunday afternoon, and once again, I am tucked away in the war room somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho, and I'm here by myself today. This weekend is rough. Sometimes we come across them. The other guys have to work. Everyone's got family stuff they got to do. No problem. They don't all have the convenience of having the war room just across their yard. So I understand that. I wasn't going to do a podcast this week, but I was actually pretty excited. I was able to round up some money and get some new equipment for the podcast. I got this new board. It's called the Rodecaster Pro. It's going to make hopefully make the sound a lot better, and hopefully make editing a lot easier. We can add a lot of audio clips to it. I can pull audio straight from my computer, and I'm pretty excited to use it. So I am actually using this today. And so if it sounds a little off, it's because I'm still, it's pretty easy to use, but I'm still trying to learn the ins and outs of it. I'm not too tech savvy, but I've been kind of playing around with it for a few days, and I was really excited to get out here and give it a whirl and try it all out. So that is what I am going to do. So, there's always a bunch of stuff going on with the Second Amendment, and I think there's a few big things that happened over the past week, and one of them is that big shooting down in Mexico of that family. The drug cartels shot up those vehicles, and they had nothing but, I think, women and children in them, and we can kind of think, hey, that was down in Mexico. Why does that really concern me? But you know what? It does. There was an interview. First of all, this is really close to our border. Okay, really close to our border, and something that is coming across our border all the times. And these drug cartels are running guns, but are using guns. They're running drugs, but they're using guns as well that they probably got from our federal government, probably through the Obama administration and the Fast and the Furious scandal that they had going on, where they sold guns out, and they wanted to be able to say, look at all these guns that are causing all these problems, and we need to tighten down on gun control. Well, a lot of these firearms got into the hands of drug cartels and people like that, and they're actually being used against our own enforcement agencies, border patrol, law enforcement, that kind of thing. And I don't know yet. We don't know for sure, but there's a good chance that some of these guns were used against these people down in Mexico. But there was a really good interview actually that was done. And they were talking to one of the ladies who was a family her family were the ones that got shot up down there. And it was an interview that was actually broke down and talked about by a gentleman by the name of Colion Noir, or something like that. I forget how you say his name. Colion Noir, I believe. And he's a very big Second Amendment advocate. He's an attorney, I believe, down in Texas, and he also is a voice of the NRA. Now, we all know how I feel about the NRA, but we won't get into that. But what he has to say is really important. It's some stuff that he pointed out in this interview, and he broke it down. So instead of listening to me kind of recount this interview, what I did is I uploaded it onto some of my equipment here, and I will replay it for you. And I think it's about 8 or 9 minutes. We'll take a listen to it, and then we will listen to what he points out, and then we can kind of break it down and talk about why I think it is so important. So here we go.
Last night on CNN, I watched a 20-minute interview between Anderson Cooper and Kendra Miller. Just days ago, this happened to Kendra Miller's family in Mexico.
Nita and 4 of my grandchildren are burnt and shot up.
Tonight, this charred, bullet-ridden SUV marks the massacre that a Mexican drug cartel unleashed on an American family. 3 women and at least 6 children, including twin infants, ambushed and shot in a remote mountainous area south of the U.S. border. These images show some of the survivors, including at least 5 children who were flown by helicopter to be treated for gunshot wounds in Tucson, Arizona. They somehow escaped the slaughter.
The oldest, who was 13, I believe, he hid them all under a bush on the side of the road, told him to stay, and he ran.
The victims, all part of a fundamentalist Mormon group that lived in the border region for decades. Victims' relatives say the group was traveling by caravan, picking up family members, preparing for an upcoming wedding. They were traveling in 3 separate SUVs, deep in narco territory, and amid an ongoing cartel war. Mexican officials think the women's SUVs may have been mistaken by rival drug gangs. Relatives say at one point one of the mothers got out of her vehicle with her hands up to show they were families. The gunman shot her point blank in the chest.
Mexico has always been safe for us growing up. I always felt safe there. And just in the last few months, it's gotten a little scary.
At the end of this 20-minute interview, Kendra Miller made the most powerful Second Amendment statement I've heard on national television in years.
I don't know where you're standing on the whole people trying to take away the guns in America right now, but I say fight for those guns, because these things are happening here in Mexico because the people can't protect themselves, because by law they're not allowed to own these guns. And so since the government isn't doing their job of protection in the way that they should, these cartels can just wreak havoc and the people are left defenseless. And so I say hold on to your guns, people.
This statement wasn't powerful because of Kendra's eloquence or because she said it with so much passion. On the contrary, the statement was incredibly simple, and she delivered it with an understandable level of timidity considering it was CNN. Kendra's statement was so powerful because of the context of the statement. Kendra Miller just had 9 people in her family massacred in a country with extremely strict gun control laws. And when asked what she wants people in America to know and take away from all of this, she says,
I say hold on to your guns, people.
Kendra Miller and her family live in Mexico. Mexico has every single gun control law that our current Democratic presidential candidates are begging for, and then some. In Mexico, you're only allowed to own 1 small caliber handgun after going through several months worth of paperwork. And then after that, you can't even carry it. It has to stay at your house. And there's only 1 gun store in the entire country where you can even buy a gun. Mexico's gun laws are American anti-gunners' wet dream. And still, with all of these gun control laws that our moronic political leaders keep telling us will keep us safe, they did nothing to keep Kendra's family safe. That is why Kendra Miller's statement was the most powerful statement in support of the Second Amendment I've heard on national television in years. We have over 300 million people in this country. Don't let our politicians lie to you. I don't care what alternate reality or dream they sell you. When it comes to keeping you safe from violence, the government is not your first line of defense. You are. The government and its laws can't protect you. It's literally impossible. At best, they can be your reinforcements. At worst, they're there to clean up the scene. So do you and your family a favor and listen to Kendra Williams.
I will say, though, there you go. I mean, this woman had her family murdered and killed in cold blood by these drug cartels because they now granted they chose to live down there, but they lived in an area right there where you cannot have Mexico. You cannot have guns. You cannot own guns. And if you do, it is very, very hard and takes months and months of paperwork where you can only buy a gun at 1 store in the entire country. Okay. They were unable to defend themselves. That's where we're headed. That's what our politicians want. Okay, they keep trying to take our guns. They keep trying to whittle away at our gun laws and slowly take our rights away. And, I can promise you that if they ever get into full power and complete power, it may be over for us, or it's going to go into some kind of civil war. They will come after our guns. They want our firearms. And so, like Kendra said, hold on to your guns. Hold on to your firearms. Now, she said that. You guys got to go back and watch the video, and I may post that up on the Facebook page. She said that during an interview on CNN, and you should have seen the look on the reporter's face when she said that. They weren't expecting that, but that was heartfelt. She had just had seven members of her family murdered in cold blood because they were unable to defend themselves. They had no way to fight back. They had to get out. They had to be shot. They had to hide behind bushes, okay? I mean, a woman stepped out of the vehicle to show that this was not another drug cartel, that this was not an army, and they shot her in cold blood. They had no way to defend themselves. That is what our politicians want us to do. Don't get this confused. It's not that they don't like guns. They don't have a problem with firearms. Their bodyguards have firearms. Their security has firearms. They may even have firearms. They have a problem with us. They have a problem with you having firearms. They do not want you to be able to fight back. The Second Amendment was written so we could stand up in a moment's notice whenever we needed and defend ourselves against a tyrannical government. Here you go. Our government right now is tyrannical. We need the firearms to be able to protect ourselves, to keep them in check if they ever get really out of control, which, to be honest with you, the red flag laws and everything else that might be coming our way, they're getting out of control. We need to be able to defend ourselves, and they know that. The Second Amendment, the gun debate, the gun control, that's what it is. It's not even really about the guns. It's about control. They want to control us. And if we have the means to fight back, it'll keep them kind of at bay, okay? There's a ton of guns out there. I don't even remember the amount of guns that they said, people own and private citizens in the U.S., but it's a big number. And we need to fight. We need to pay attention who we put into office. We're talking on the federal level, on the state level, on the local level, cities, towns, whatever. You need to know what these people you elect or who are running for office believe in, and you need to hold their feet to the fire. You need to make sure that they fight for what they say they're going to fight for. You need to make sure that they have the same beliefs and values as you do. More and more I see it where I live. We have people move in from out of state because they've ruined their state. They don't like their state. We'll just say California. Okay, there I saw a statistic come out, I think it was like last week, that said, I'm thinking back here, 20,000 people moved out of California and moved in to the state of Idaho. That's my home state. Moved into the state of Idaho. 20,000 last year alone. And there's been so many more since then. If you come here, you need to come here for the freedom. Come here for the freedom from government that makes crazy decisions, state government that makes crazy decisions. Come here, get away from the really high taxes in California. Come here for the freedom. Don't come here and try to change it. Don't come here because you ruined your state, because you voted certain people in or certain things in, and you ruined it. And so it's ruined, and now you're going to move out. Don't come here because you ruined your state and you now want to come and ruin ours. Don't come here because you want to change ours to make it like the one that you left. Obviously, the decisions you made, the people you put into office, those were all bad decisions. They didn't work out well, or you wouldn't be running away from your state, your home state. Don't come here and try to change that. It's here, people. It is here, and it is starting to rear its ugly head. Okay, up in Boise, it's here. It's in Boise. We have to watch out. Are we going to be the next California? Are we going to be the next Washington? Are we going to let Bloomberg come in with his minions and control our elections and come in and try to get these new laws like what happened up in Washington State? And what a mess that is. They could sneak in. We could get enough Californians in here that they could sneak in and they could go ahead and turn a vote like this. If we don't show up to the polls, we just had local elections here, and it's like, there was very few people that showed up for the local election to actually vote. Just horrible numbers, and horrible numbers. Come on, people, get out and vote. I was online and I was looking around on Facebook at some of the local comments, and one guy's like, well, we think employers need to let their employees out enough time during the day so they can go and vote. It's not up to the employees. You are an American. You live here. You are an Idahoan. You live in the community. You have the privilege, the privilege to be able to get out and vote. It's a right. Okay, practice that right or we're going to lose it. If we show that we don't care, we're going to lose these rights and lose these privileges. They're going to go away. And it's the only way, one of the only ways that we can decide who gets voted in, and we can choose, and hopefully their core values and beliefs are the same as ours. Instead, we're going to sit home and watch the football game or watch the sitcoms on TV, and we're not going to vote, but yet we're still going to complain when it doesn't come out the way that we want. We have to pay attention to who is going into office, federally, state level, locally, all of them. Because you know what? This is another clip that came out, because this right here is what they think. Granted, we had Beto. He came out and said, hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15s. He did come out and say that. He said a lot of things. We're going to send law enforcement. If I get voted in, I'm going to send law enforcement door to door to take your guns. And he's not in there anymore. He's done running for president. He dropped from the race, and he was concerning a lot of people. They were like, Beto, you just need to shut up. Don't tell them everything. So we know what they want, and this was another interview, and this is what came out this last week.
They should not tell everything they're going to do. Like, if you're going to take people's guns away, wait till you get elected, then take the guns away. Don't tell them ahead of time.
Which, by the way, that's what people like me think you're going to do. That's what people like me think is going to happen. So I appreciate his honesty.
So there you go. They want to take your guns away. And they came out publicly and say, if you want to take your guns away, don't tell the people till after you're voted in. Then tell them you're going to take the guns away. They have a big machine that they're building. They're slowly putting into place, brick by brick, cog by cog, weld by weld. They're building this machine, and it's in the background. And if we do not pay attention to what is going on, they will show up. And I don't know what that's going to look like, folks. Really, I do the radio show. I talk about this all the time. I read tons of articles and information, and I do lots of thinking on it. What is that going to be? How are we going to defend the Second Amendment, defend our right to keep and bear arms? How are we going to do that? I don't know how that's going to play out. We need to watch who we elect. I just talked about that. We need to watch that. That's one way we can do it. What happens if they come door to door? What are you going to do? I mean, I'm not going to answer this for you. Are you going to, if they were to come door to door, are you going to give them your firearms? Or are you going to tell them you don't have any? Are you going to fight? Are you going to leave your family defenseless and hand everything over? I mean, what is your plan? What are you going to do? It's something to think about, because, it could happen. I think every day, to be honest with you, every day we're getting closer and closer and closer to something like this going down. And we need to pay attention, and we need to stay informed, and we need to make some decisions. Talk to your friends, get groups of people together that think the same that think the same way. Make sure your towns, your cities, whoever, that you guys elect the right people and get the right people in office. Because I'm not sure how this is going to go down. There's plenty of fiction novels out there that talk about the end of society, and they talk about everyone breaking down. They talk about them trying to take our guns and trying to kill the Second Amendment and what happens, and neighborhoods band together and this and that. Is that fiction? I don't know. I mean, could that play out? I have no idea. But it's really important, I think, to stick with like-minded people right now. Talk to people. Teach people how to shoot their weapons, how to be proficient with their weapons. Teach our youth, our kids, our children about the Second Amendment. Teach them about history. Try not to let history repeat itself, because that's exactly what it's going to do if we do not pay attention. We were given the Second Amendment to help protect ourselves from a tyrannical government, and that's what we need to do, is we need to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. I know this sounds a bit ranty, but it's like, I was thinking about this the other day. How is this all going to play out? Nobody really knows. We have to be prepared for everything. They're slowly wiping away history. They're killing history. Our kids don't know. They haven't learned what we learned. They're changing it as they need to, as they see fit. They're making our kids so afraid of guns and so anti-gun that if you chew a Pop-Tart into the shape of a gun, people freak out and cry, and your kid gets expelled from school and he gets in trouble. Absolutely ridiculous. We're creating a society of people that have problems with firearms, the people that are scared of firearms, something that's never hurt them, right? I mean, it's unbelievable to me. Every weekend or every week during the week and even on the weekends, I have people. I do gun classes. I've talked about it before. Concealed carry permit classes, first time shooters classes, all kinds of different classes with firearms. And I constantly have brand new people that have never fired guns in these classes. And the joy that crosses their face when they learn how to do it safely and correctly, and they find out that, you know what, this is fun. Hearts are changed. Hearts are turned, minds are changed, and all of a sudden you have a diehard, a diehard gun enthusiast. Okay, that can happen. We just got to share it. We've got to teach it. We've got to be prepared. We've got to do it safely. We've got to teach everything safely. We can't, just because Trump may be your man, maybe your president, and that's fine. Just because he's in office and you think everything's going smoothly doesn't necessarily mean that you just need to lay back and watch everything happen, because stuff is in the works, stuff is happening quickly. And by the time the next election rolls around, it could get really, really ugly. I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows. I ask 5 people and I get 6 different answers. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And I don't expect anyone to know what's going to happen. But be prepared. I mean, if Democrats do somehow get into control, we may lose our firearms. And heck, for even that matter, if Republicans get into control, you may lose your firearms. I'm still not convinced that Trump is as pro-Second Amendment as he wants us to believe. And I definitely know there's a lot of other Republicans that are not as well. Remember, they don't have a problem with firearms. What they have a problem with is you having firearms. So, anyhow, something to think on for the week. I apologize that this isn't the full normal hour. It looks like we've got about maybe 25, 30 minutes here. I just mostly wanted to get you guys out something. I wanted to try out my new equipment, and hopefully, besides my one little screw up right there in the middle, I think it worked out pretty well. But until then, if you share the podcast, share it with your friends, like it, subscribe it. If there's anything that I can do to make these better, because I know there's always room for improvement. I'm not stupid. There's always room for improvement. Call me, let me know, text me anytime. I don't care who you are. I don't care if I've never met you before. I don't care if you live clear across the U.S. If you are in another country and you want to shoot me a text message, you can definitely do so. You call me if you want. If it's too late, I probably won't answer. But I'll always receive the text message. Area code 620-794-6223. Area code 620-794-6223. Call and critique the podcast. Tell us if we're doing a good job, a bad job. Maybe you're from another country and you would like to tell us your story of gun control. Maybe you've gone through a situation like that. Maybe you can tell us what it's like to have strict gun control, and you can remind us how lucky we are. So we'll get off our duffs and fight to keep it. We don't have to listen to this gal pleading with us on this interview to hold on to your firearms. Sometimes we need that. Sometimes we need more than that. So anyone that's got that, definitely give me a call. Leave me a message. I'll read it. I'll play it. I'll read your text message. And if we need to, I can set up a phone call. You could call into the podcast. It's not going to be live. It's going to be pre-recorded, but we could work something out. I would love to put you on the podcast. Get a hold of me. Let me know who you are. If you've got some kind of story, I will put you on the podcast. We will set up a time. You can call my phone, and you'll be on the podcast with me and whoever else cares to join me that evening. So do that. Like it, share it, and until then, we will see you guys next week. Thank you.